CBC Manitoba is looking at homelessness in our province and how we might do a better job of housing people. In Toronto, one nonprofit has found success using modular housing. Riley Lachuk spoke with Kagan Harris with the neighborhood group in Toronto to find out what that could look like.
Thank you for joining me today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
So maybe first of all, just tell me about what these modular houses look like.
So the modular housing sites are unique, especially the ones that we operate in the city of Toronto. We operate two buildings. So the first two sites in the city of Toronto that have been built this way. When you look at it, when it's fully completed, when you tour the site, it looks and operates like any regular apartment building. However, what's unique about it is the way that it's built. It's built in different pieces off-site from the actual construction site, and then they're shipped to it. And it's kind of, it kind of sounds silly, but it's when you actually see it in action, it looks like Lego pieces coming together. One section fits here, another section fits here, and it really is kind of like that Lego style of building, putting together a building. But then once it's completed, it operates and functions and looks just like any other apartment building would.
How has this housing development affected the homeless rate in your community?
Well, what I can say with certainty is after, we have 100 different units within these two buildings. And once we got these buildings fully tenanted, which really didn't take that much time, just under 6 months since from opening, that's 100 people who were taken off the street and no longer experience street homelessness. And now they're gaining access to support services such as education support, employment support, all kinds of supports that they didn't have before the actual opening of these buildings. So it's really had a significant impact on the population that we serve within these buildings. And it has, reduced the number of people who are experiencing street homelessness. And the expectation is the more of these houses that do open, or more of these apartments that do open, the more people will be able to take it off the streets and cease to experience street homelessness.
This is an idea that's come up here in Winnipeg as well. How can a city like this, I guess, sort of mimic this idea or use some of what you guys have learned in order to replicate that here?
The recommendation to Winnipeg would be to just do it. It's, once you've identified a site and it meets the criteria, it's a very quick turnaround for building these sites. The city council approved this project in April of 2020. Construction started. We were brought on in September of 2020. Construction started around August, September, and we opened the first building in December and the second building about a month later. So it can happen very quickly. It just comes down to just having the drive to do it.
Is there any particular moment or story that stands out to you when you think of, modular housing, not typically something that you think of when you're working on a problem like homelessness?
One of the things that we see on a regular basis is when we introduce new tenants to their housing. So they come in, they sign their lease, they get a tour of the property, and then they get given their keys and they get a tour of their unit. It's not uncommon to see people just kind of become overwhelmed with joy. We've had people collapse to the ground in tears. They finally have a place to call home. It's a place that's finally theirs. We've heard countless success stories of people who have gone on to, gain gainful employment following getting getting into this modular housing site. We have people who've decided to go back to school, and we've given them the resources they need to access school. So it's really just been, from our experience as a nonprofit operator with our partners in Coda Health, it's been a very, very positive experience. And there have been so many wonderful stories within our tenant population of people really benefiting from the impact of these buildings.
Well, I want to thank you for taking some time to speak with me today, Kagan. I really appreciate it, and thanks for sharing some of the stories.
My pleasure.